There are certain artists in hip-hop whose stories are bigger than their music. Artists who become symbols, not because they tried to, but because the way they lived left a trail for other people to follow. In every generation, there are only a handful of rappers who build something that outlives the charts, outgrows the industry, and outshines their own fame. And Nipsey Hussle is one of them. Because while the world remembers his legacy, his activism, and the culture surrounding the marathon, what often gets overlooked is the foundation underneath all of it: the business philosophy, the ownership model, the deliberate moves he made long before anyone knew his name. Nipsey didn't become a multimillionaire because of a hit single. He didn't blow up off a lucky moment, and he didn't rely on a major label to make him successful. His wealth came from something very different: strategy. A slow, patient, disciplined approach to building ownership brick by brick. A blueprint that challenged the music industry and showed young artists that independence wasn't a disadvantage. It was leverage. This is the real story of Nipsey Hussle's business empire. This is how he became a millionaire without a label. And this is why the marathon never ends. To understand Nipsey Hussle's approach, you have to start at the beginning. Before the deals, before the headlines, before the industry paid attention. Nipsey grew up in a part of Los Angeles where resources were limited, opportunities were scarce, and the only way to move forward was to build something yourself. That mindset became the backbone of his entire career. While most upcoming rappers were chasing attention, Nipsey was studying the business. He was watching how artists lost their masters, how labels controlled distribution, and how rappers with platinum records still died broke because they didn't own anything. So he made a decision early. If he was going to step into the music industry, he would do it on his own terms. He created All Money In, not as a vanity label, but as a functional business. The name wasn't branding, it was a mission statement. No middlemen, no percentages disappearing, no shortcuts. He would reinvest every dollar back into himself until he built the leverage he needed. His early mixtapes, Bullets Ain't Got No Name, The Marathon, TMC, and Crenshaw were more than music projects. They were assets. They were part of a long-term revenue plan. And because he owned them outright, every dollar from shows, merchandise, and distribution came back to him, not to any executive's pocket. While his peers were signing 360 deals for advances, Nipsey was turning contracts down because he understood something most artists never learn. The moment you give up ownership, you give up control. This decision didn't just shape his career, it shaped his wealth. One of the most defining moments in Nipsey's business journey came in 2013 with the release of Crenshaw. Instead of giving it away for free like every other mixtape at the time, he created the Proud to Pay campaign, offering physical CDs for $100 each. The industry thought it was absurd. A mixtape, something people could download for free, priced like a luxury item. But Nipsey wasn't selling music, he was selling value, ownership, and community. He was experimenting with scarcity, and he was proving that artists didn't need mass appeal to make real money. They needed loyal fans. He pressed 1,000 copies. He sold all 1,000 copies. He made $100,000 in one night. Jay-Z heard about it and bought 100 copies himself, not for charity, but because he recognized the brilliance behind the move. Nipsey had turned a mixtape into a premium product. He showed that when an artist owns their product and their story, the rules of the industry no longer apply. A year later, he did it again, with Mailbox Money, adding a $1,000 tier, and those sold too. This wasn't a gimmick, it was a demonstration of what happens when an artist controls their economics. Nipsey's Proud to Pay model became one of the clearest examples of how independence can outperform the traditional system, and it marked the moment the industry realized he wasn't just an artist, he was an entrepreneur. After proving independence through music, Nipsey expanded his blueprint into physical ownership, the kind that builds generational wealth. He purchased the strip mall at the corner of Crenshaw and Slauson, the exact intersection he grew up around, and transformed it into the Marathon store. A smart retail space powered by technology, digital displays, and customer data integration. This was not a boutique. This was not merch. This was vertical retail ownership, something no major label could offer him. The move did two crucial things. One, he controlled the land, meaning every business operating there paid rent to him. Two, he created a cultural destination, turning a neighborhood landmark into an economic engine. Nipsey wasn't investing in retail for fashion. He was investing in franchise. He was showing his neighborhood that real estate wasn't out of reach. It was achievable. His business partner, David Gross, later revealed that Nipsey had plans to expand ownership across multiple blocks, including new commercial developments and mixed-use housing. These weren't ideas for image. They were blueprints for long-term economic change. The Marathon store wasn't a clothing line. It was a symbol of ownership in its purest form. One of Nipsey's most forward-thinking projects was Vector 90, a co-working space and STEM center in South Los Angeles. On the surface, it looked like a modern workspace, but at its core, it was a bridge, connecting underserved communities to technology, entrepreneurship, and education. Nipsey partnered with developer David Gross to create a shared office space for local entrepreneurs, a technology and coding center for the youth, a mentorship hub, a pipeline connecting Crenshaw to Silicon Valley. Vector 90 represented Nipsey's belief that real empowerment comes from education and access, not giveaways, not handouts, access. He wanted kids from his neighborhood to grow up knowing how to build apps, pitch investors, and launch startups just like anyone in Silicon Valley. He believed economic mobility came from knowledge, not luck. Vector 90 remains one of the clearest examples of how Nipsey thought. He wasn't chasing short-term wins. He was building systems, the kind that last generations. Even though Nipsey spent most of his career independent, he eventually partnered with a major label. But the deal he made was nothing like the deals most artists sign. In 2017, he entered a joint venture with Atlantic Records. Not a signing, not a 360, a partnership. Nipsey retained ownership of all money in. He kept his masters, he kept control of branding, marketing decisions, and release strategy. Atlantic served as a distributor and amplifier, not an owner. This is what independence was always supposed to lead to. A place where the artist chooses the terms, not the label. This is why Victory Lap sounded the way it did. Major label quality, independent artist ownership, a hybrid model, the best of both worlds. Nipsey proved that independence isn't a stance against labels. Independence is leverage that forces labels to meet you at eye level. Across everything Nipsey did, music, real estate, business development, community building, education, there was a consistent theme: ownership. Everything he began was designed to create assets, infrastructure, economic mobility, access, independence. He wanted to build things that other people could use, grow from, and benefit from long after he was gone. And this is where Nipsey's blueprint becomes bigger than hip-hop. Most artists chase fame, Nipsey chased systems. Most artists chase validation. Nipsey chased ownership. Most artists build income. Nipsey built wealth. His approach wasn't about becoming the richest rapper. It was about becoming the most self-sufficient one. The true impact of Nipsey Hussle's life is not measured in Grammys or chart positions. It's measured in the foundation he laid. He showed artists that independence can be an advantage, not a limitation. He showed communities that ownership is within reach. He showed young entrepreneurs that patience, discipline, and long-term thinking matter more than viral moments. Most importantly, he showed the world that the marathon is not a slogan. It's a philosophy, a way of approaching life and business that rewards people willing to build slowly, invest wisely, and trust the process. Nipsey Hussle didn't just talk about ownership. He built it, he lived it, and he left behind a blueprint that will continue to guide artists and entrepreneurs long after his time. This is Nipsey Hussle's economic legacy. This is the blueprint of ownership, and this is why the marathon will never end. This is Money and Music, where hip-hop meets business, and the business finally makes sense.